Hello, Public Access presents All About Books with Paul Kinkade.
Welcome to All About Books. This is Paul Kinkade, and before we go any further, I have to say something. To our viewer, usually I'm very congenial with the people I interview, but sometimes congeniality has to go right out the window, such as for my interview tonight. But having said that, let's move on to our guest this evening. He's the author of A Simple Life, Mr. Jack Fonay.
Fonay. It already sounds like you're one of the drive-by media.
Excuse me. I guess the A must be silent. Anyway, Mr. Fonay is the author of the book that's due to be released soon, A Simple Life. Tell us a little bit about your book, Mr. Fonay.
Well, it came from years of studying the human condition.
Really?
Yeah. And seeing what drives people, what they're made of, in all strata.
Uh-huh.
And then combining it together to come up with a simple pattern that really applies to everyone.
Oh, it applies to everyone. I see. Now, your book, A Simple Life, is dedicated to your pursuit of the simple life. And
simply true.
And yet, according to Gary Gilchrist, our research technician, the simple life which you purport to pursue includes at least 3 or 4 homes in the U.S., another 5 in Europe, 2 in Australia, and a couple in South America.
I can already see where this is going. This is the same thing that happened on Bill O'Reilly.
Well, you don't need a GPS to see that.
Yeah.
You know, a simple life. It's hardly a simple life, would you call it? Living in one mansion or another, and then purporting to write a book that addresses the issues that everyday people experience on a day-to-day basis.
Well, what gives you better perspective to look at that? When you're in it and you're working through it, you can't see it. So when you're above it and you can look down on it, it's all really clear. And it's much easier to define it and define it for them.
Well, this is like, talking about looking down on it, it'd be like if you were at the top of a skyscraper looking down at the people below. To you, those people would be no more than ants.
Why do you think people go up on skyscrapers? Why do you think there's an observation on the Empire State Building? People like to go up and look down. And when they do, they get more of a sense of it. Do you think you get a sense of New York buried in the crowd, walking on the street? But when you're up there and you look down, suddenly it all makes sense.
Well, what makes sense is that from up so high, with the perspective like that, you don't really have a feeling of what the everyday people go through.
Oh, sure you do, because you can watch them go through it. You can watch them go through it all the way up and down the street, all at the same time. That's what they call an overview.
An overview.
Yes, because you're over and you're viewing.
And you're viewing. That is crap. Anyway.
Oh, senses?
Senses.
Does this show have senses?
Excuse me, I said it was crap. I didn't say it was shit.
Oh. Now
Okay.
you see the kind of rabble that I have to talk
Rabble?
to
Rabble?
on this book tour.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the book. I understand it's going to be released in hardcover. Your initial print run is how many?
5,000 copies.
5,000 copies. And I got to look at a dummy copy, and the thing, the thing measured 2 feet by 3 foot. It's like a coffee book, coffee table book. When we tried carrying it out, we actually had to use a wheelbarrow to carry the book. Now, how do you expect to sell 5,000?
That's an ugly falsehood. There's nothing like that with my book. That wasn't my book that you had, and you shouldn't be having my book anyway because it isn't on the shelves yet.
No, it isn't. The only thing I have to say about that is you must learn to lock your doors at night.
Well, you know what? When you're surrounded by enough land, you don't have to lock your doors at night.
Oh, that's another simple life ideal. from Mr. Jack Fonay. Oh,
Oh,
Fonay.
Fonay.
Fonay. According to Gary Gilchrist, our research technician, the simple life which you purport to pursue.
Wait, am I on Bill O'Reilly? What's going on here?
Only if you were that
I
lucky.
have enemies, and that Gilchrist guy, he's one of them.
Well,
I'll tell you that.
It took 2 mouse clicks on Google to find out the dirt on you, buddy.
Google.
Uh-huh.
Google's a plot.
Plot.
Yeah. Stay away from computers. Pen and pencil.
Well, if you're afraid
to
of the
go.
enemies, the only plot you should be concerned about is the cemetery plot with your name on it. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Your book is due to release in about 5 or 6 weeks. I understand you have an initial press release of about 5,000 books. Now, the odd thing about it is that your book, A Simple Life, I understand it's put out by the Phony Press, or the Fonay Press. Oh, excuse me. And I happen to have acquired the proposed cover for this book. And Juan, could we get a close-up of this?
Get that hand off my face.
For our viewer at home, this Simple Life cover, Mr. Fonay is standing in the first staircase in one of his homes here in the U.S. And how on earth he can purport to be pursuing this simple life is beyond me.
It helps you get perspective on the simple life if you're not worrying all the time.
Yes, I can understand that, but isn't it the truth, Mr. Fonay, that you have been pursuing the so-called simple life, even at a young child? I understand that when you were quite young, you spent your formative years at the A.P. Winthrop Boys Academy.
But they beat the hell out of me.
Probably with reason.
Uh,
With reason. But anyway, after that, you went on to make your fortune, which in your case amounted to walking into a bank and opening a safety deposit box. Basically,
pretty hard to open those. Have you ever tried to open one?
yeah, but basically what I'm getting at is that you haven't worked a day in your life, and yet
I have worked 6 days in my life.
6 days?
Yes. I can count them on 2 hands.
2 hands, 5 fingers, and 2 thumbs. 1 thumb. Anyway, why the book and why now?
Because society needs to get the perspective on those who can look down from on high and really perceive their life from that perspective of distance, of great height. And I use my wealth to do that.
Well, I in all fairness, Mr. Gilchrist, in doing research, you indeed did.
Gilchrist, that guy should be in jail.
Well, he did find out something good that you did, and I was going to mention it if you'd care for me to skip it over.
No,
but
no,
I
no,
won't.
let's hear it.
You were kind enough to provide piano lessons for 500 underprivileged children in the New York City area.
It was hell fitting them all into that room.
Well, it was. On the one hand, it was nice that they took the piano lessons, but the only thing that they were trained to do was play Tchaikovsky. No chopsticks, no anything else. So the gift of playing the piano was pretty much wasted.
No, they could all go into the symphony. They could make their own symphony.
Well,
Piano concerto.
for what the symphonies cost, they probably could go into the symphony if they were helping people find their seats, but they certainly couldn't afford to go themselves. So anyway, you were saying about from on high.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's just like going to the mountaintop.
The mountaintop.
Yes.
Any particular mountaintop?
No, but one with a great cliff that you can look down on.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the swarming masses below.
The swarming masses.
Yes, and those are the people, those are my people, though.
Those are your people?
Yes. The
Well,
swarming
in
masses.
describing the swarming masses, it sounds like you could be just as well describing an anthill.
Well, ants are pretty industrious creatures.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So, a cliff. Well, basically, I think what it boils down to, you hear a lot of talk today about the 1% versus the 99%. But you, sir, I would have to say you're in that rarefied 0.5%. You're even above the 1%. And yet, you're bringing out a book called A Simple Life.
Life gets pretty simple up there.
Well, it must get simple. You know, what do you have to worry about?
I got to worry about the maid showing up on time, the swimming pool being cleaned,
Oh,
all kinds of things.
So-
But I hold it together.
you hold it together.
And in holding that together, I can teach the less fortunate people how to hold it together.
And you purport to do that with your new book, A Simple Life.
That's right. Look at the Pope. Do you think he leads a simple life? You have, more jewels and stuff like that, but he doesn't get this kind of stuff. He's not here being questioned like this.
Well, but the Pope's only there for as long as he lives.
Well, that can be a long time.
Yeah, that can be, obviously, because you're living proof of the fact. Well, I have to say this. You live the life, but I would hardly call it simple.
Well, simply speaking, it is.
So, that's about it this evening. I want to thank our guest, Jack Fonay, for joining us. And let's get another shot of this. This is unbelievable. And the initial copy run is how many copies?
Oh, about 5,000.
5,000. And are you purchasing all of those yourself?
Oh, come on. And by the way, where did you even get this? Did that guy Gilchrist get it for you? It's not been released yet.
No. I can see our time together, thank goodness, is drawing to a close.
Thank goodness for me too.
And I want to I want to thank Mr. Fonay for joining us this evening and invite our viewer to be back with us next week when I guarantee we will have a much better guest for you to enjoy. Until then, this is Jack Kinkade saying good night, so long, and farewell. Get lost.
Oh.
You've been watching All About Books with Paul Kinkade. His guest, Jack Fonay's book is available at the following bookstores. Don't Buy That Book bookshop in Ortonville, California will be featuring Jack's book, as well as the very unique shop known as Washed Away's Bookstand, which is at the Ventura Pier on Sundays, although it can be difficult to get aboard. And you can find Jack Fonay's book online at Zero Ink Bookshop in ebook format at zeroink.org. Thank you for watching All About Books.